We will walk with you and sing your spirit home. Courage, my friend, you do not walk alone. We will walk with you and sing your spirit home. Please rise and body your spirit. Freedom, my friend, you do not walk alone. We will walk with you and sing your spirit home. Justice, my friend, we do not walk alone. We will walk with you and sing your spirit home. Courage, my friend, you do not walk alone. We will walk with you and sing your spirit home. Thank you. That song was written by a Scottish songwriter some time ago, but it was taken up by the anti-apartheid movement of South Africa and was used as a way to help people as they were taken to jail and then to learn each other's names while they were in jail cells. And so we use that song today with their history in mind.
Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces. We welcome those of you who are in our sanctuary this morning, especially children, and those who are joining us via Zoom. I'm Mark Sukontarak, your service associate. Our service leader today is Reverend Carolyn Wilkins, founder and spiritual director of Inspirational Ministries. Our director of music is Catherine Massey, and she is joined by the UUCLC choir. Assisting us are Elwin Nunn on camera, and Chris Neal Wallace and Mike Yazko on audio and Zoom. Our greeters are Robert Severance and Claire Shawhorn, and we have a few others helping out today. And hospitality is offered by the Leadership Development Committee.
Multicultural awareness.
They changed up on me there. Okay, then it's the Multicultural Awareness Group. Sorry about that. We are all delighted to be with you. Unitarian Universalism has no creed or dogma. We are a covenant-based church, meaning that we agree to live in relationship with each other according to the Unitarian Universalist principles and our congregation's covenant of right relations. We embrace diversity in all its forms. Everyone is welcome. You can learn more about our church at our website, uuchurchlc.org. If you are visiting us today, we'd like to meet you. If you're in the sanctuary, please rise and body your spirit, and we will bring the mic to you so you can introduce yourself by telling us your name and where you're from. Do we have any visitors in the sanctuary? Yay! Okay, let me get my mic set up here. It's on? Okay. Lots of visitors. Hi, Bill.
Bill and Dee Skillman from Santa Fe, New Mexico.
These from the same place. Thank you.
Pride and Ava Zivkovich. We live right here in Las Cruces.
I'm Kathy Gowan, and I'm from Ruidoso.
Kathy, did you get anything from the greeters? Okay. Hey, Claire. Kathy, was it? Kathy did not get anything. A bag or a. Okay. They're sneaking in on you. And a form to sign too. Yeah. Not your fault. They need a thing, a sign in, sign, yeah. Any others? Okay. If you're on Zoom, just turn on your mic and camera in order to introduce yourself. Any visitors joining us by Zoom? None by Zoom. Okay. Thank you. We are pleased you have joined us today. Please be sure to fill out a visitor's card from the lobby or leave your email in the Zoom chat box so we can invite you to other services and activities at the church. If you are a shy visitor but are curious about our church, please feel free to fill out a visitor's card in the lobby or leave your email in the chat box and you'll receive the same invitations. Okay. And please join us after the service for coffee and conversation outside outside the RE building, just down the breezeway, or stay on Zoom for chat rooms. Okay, Reverend Wilkins has some opening words for us.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to reiterate the song that you heard. You do not walk alone. There's something so powerful about coming together, and as you look around, you'll see that there are people of like mind, like thoughts, hopefully like action that you're sitting with. So I welcome you this morning. I'm grateful to be a part of the service today, and know that there's something that you're going to give me, even though you came for me to give you something. You've already opened my heart, and I really hope you know the power of what you do here. It's a very special congregation. I know many of you individually, with the work that you do in the world, the work you do in Las Cruces. And this is it's a conversation about courage, but you all are teaching courage throughout the community. So I say thank you for inviting me, and I welcome all of you who may be meeting me for the first time, but know that we have a powerful message and service that comes along always with the music. Thank you.
Our chalice lighting. It's Out of Flames by Reverend Sarah Lawal. Out of the flames of fear, we rise with courage of our deepest convictions to stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. Out of the flames of scrutiny, we rise to proclaim our faith with hope to heal a fractured and hurting world. Out of the flames of doubt, We rise to embrace the mystery, wonder, and awe of all there is and all that is yet to be. Out of the flames of hate, we rise with the force of love, love that celebrates our shared humanity. Out of the flames we rise. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in saying our church's affirmation of covenant and in singing the doxology in English and Spanish. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. It's time for all ages. Okay. I know Reverend Wilkins likes this one, I know. Oh, well. Oh, well, we'll let that go. We're going to have our opening hymn now. UCLC Choir. I take it back, everybody.
Please rise in body or spirit as we sing number 106 in the gray hymnal, Who Would True Valor See?
One of the ways we support one another in community is through the sharing of joys, sorrows, and milestones. In these challenging times, it is critical that we make attempts to stay connected to one another. If you have a joy, sorrow, or milestone you would like to share with the congregation, please raise your hand and I will bring the mic to you. State your name and what is in your heart. Please note that this is not a time for announcements. Oh, there's one. I didn't see your finger there.
That's okay.
It's a small finger. I have a joy because my husband is now 10 days post pacemaker insertion.
Yay. Careful look here. No more fingers, okay. Oh, there's one. Or 5 fingers. There you go.
I have a mixed blessing. My daughter, Linda, she became very sick for a long time, and she lost a lot of weight. And so I'm very worried about her, but the joy is that a number of people from this congregation have stopped by to visit her and bring her food. And I am just so grateful for this congregation helping her out like this.
If you're on Zoom, you can put your joy, sorrow, or milestone in the chat box. Are there any joys, sorrows, or milestones this morning? No. Okay. I'm going to turn this thing off. I light this candle for the joys and sorrows expressed today and for those you hold in your hearts. We all hold hopes and dreams, wounds and worries in our hearts. Remembering this, let us treat one another with patience and love.
Thank you, and let us take those words into our time of meditation. Patience is a simple word, but with the environment that's around us, what we listen to, what we read, what we pay attention to impacts our ability to be still, to be patient, which is why meditation is something so powerful, because we step away from the voices that are all around us and we go within. So would you please join me in a few moments of meditation as we turn within? Just recognizing right now that all is well. That our work, our responsibility is to stay humble, stay positive, and keep love and peace in our heart. And we'll just take a moment to breathe in peace. We take a breath and breathe in peace. We take a breath and breathe in compassion. And we take another breath and breathe in love. And so it is. And Mark's going to do our reading next.
We're going to do both.
You're going to do it.
I was talking to Reverend Wilkins last night, and I was I know the order of services, I was going to do those two things, and reading is one of them, and I was kind of chicken. She was going to do it, but last night I got the courage to go ahead and do one. So here's what I got. For my readings, I have 4 quotes on courage that I feel relate to purposeful living. The first one's by Brene Brown. I thought it was just me, women reclaiming and courage in a culture of shame. Courage is a heart word. The root of the word courage is cor, the Latin word for heart. In one of its earliest forms, the word courage meant to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart. Over time, this definition has changed, and today we typically associate courage with heroic and brave deeds. But in my opinion, this definition fails to recognize the inner strength and level of commitment required for us to actually speak honestly and openly about who we are and about our experiences, good and bad. Speaking from our hearts is what I think of as ordinary courage. The next one's from Barack Obama. I have always believed that hope is that stubborn thing inside us that insists, despite all the evidence to the contrary, that something better awaits us as long as we have the courage to keep reaching, to keep working, to keep fighting. The third one is from Maya Angelou. Courage is the most important of all virtues because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. And the last one is Zhaolu Guo, from a concise Chinese-English dictionary for lovers. It's the heart afraid of breaking that never learns to dance.
Peace.
Thank you. I had a sound bath. I was going to stand on the side, but I said I'll just sit here, and I could feel your energy, and it's like being in some of the temples where they do drumming or chanting. Right here, I got a sound bath. So thank you. Wage peace. It's really my mantra. I spent a life of doing work in nonviolence, teaching children and adults peace and nonviolence. And it's an important part of what I do. It's part of my purpose. I don't know when I was given the mantle of doing this, but I believe it started when I was at home and there were battles in the home. Any of you grow up in a household where there was confusion or argument? Anybody? Okay. No true confessions by raising your hand, but it's okay. But I believe everything happens for a reason. I believe that I was brought here to be a person of peace. And I had to get my training someplace. So I was put in a household that needed peace. I laugh at it, but I know it was true. My mother actually told me that I helped to calm her down, even as a child. And so I know that I was given a gift of being able to be in places of disharmony, confusion, disagreement, and be able to not only be in it, but survive it, and to find something that came from it that kept me going and kept the people going, and stay in love with the folks who may have been out of love with themselves. I've never said that before. So there's something that's being said through me right now. But sometimes we get in places where we're so out of sorts, so disrespected, so confused that we want to leave. And I believe that we're in a state of our living right now that a lot of us kind of would like to go someplace. Almost everybody I talk to who winds up being retired are talking about going someplace else that may be more peaceful. And my question is, where? Where would that be? Now, you might have a location that feels more peaceful, like I love being by the water. Clearly, that's not what my choice was recently. But I love the mountains. They bring me peace. But where we go, we still take ourselves with us. So if we're not at peace with ourselves, then we have a challenge. I want to talk about purposeful living and positive aging. And how we want to not be in fear and live a life full out. I've considered myself to be very brave. I've traveled all over the world. I've lived in different cities. And I've been around different people, some who wanted me there and some who didn't. I've called myself brave, and others have called me brave. But I've noticed that it's not as easy or as simple anymore to feel brave. That there's a lot of things, a lot of language, a lot of conversation in this country right now that makes me check myself of how I'm contributing and to wonder about who I live with, who's around me, what are their feelings. Don't you all wonder if this kind of rhetoric is happening around us, is there anybody I know who feels like that? It's kind of a scary thing because we think we know. We think we know our friends. We think we know who we've chosen to be around. And I think this is a safe place. I'll just say that, or I wouldn't be here. But it isn't so easy anymore to feel like we're okay. But I believe a lot of times we are not living in purpose because we are trying to cling to the past of how it used to be. I used to write down notes to myself whenever I'd start a sentence that said, well, you know, when I was, or I'd say, stop doing that. Because it's important sometimes, but it keeps dragging you into where you used to be and not where you are. It's helpful, but it's not always supportive of what you're doing because the circumstances, what you may have experienced may be wonderful, but the circumstances may all be different. Whatever has happened to us is helping us walk forward. I suggest it might be easier for us to be courageous in the world, to be more purposeful, if we let go of some of our fear and frustration. And for those in the room and those who may be listening, I believe I'm actually preaching to the choir and the choir that this is a courageous group. So I would have you stand up, but it would take too long if we do that. So I want you to just raise your hand. I'm going to ask you if you agree with what is true for you for 6 qualities I'm going to share about courage. And I know because of the group I'm in that most of you are going to say yes. I already know that. Okay, number 1, I stand up for what is right, even if I stand alone. Oh, I know there are more of you than that, and I know Jan behind me. Oh, yeah, I know she's got her hand up. Okay. I don't cave in to negative peer pressure. Okay, that's what I thought. Fear of failure does not prevent me from trying new things. Oh, yep. I'm not afraid to express myself because some people might disapprove. I know, put 2 hands up, yes. Now this one may be a question. I never intentionally ridicule, embarrass, or hurt others. Yeah, you have to think about it. And the last one, I work to solve problems without violence. Okay. Yes, I thought so. So I know the crowd that is in this center. I know the people that come here, that these are the values and the virtues that you live from and that you operate. And courage, as Mark said, is often associated with soldiers and people that walk in valor and combat, sometimes with athletes. But I want you to think out of the box this morning. And I want you to think about our youth. The young people in our lives, the children, the grandchildren, the great-grands, of how they've been put into situations to act courageously. Courage was not expected from me in my youth. except for a few things. But let me take you to a space of natural disasters, of hurricanes and floods. You thought of the children in Florida, in the forest fires that are going on, the lakes, the water that's disappearing, the floods. They don't ever show in the news the children. You notice that? They show the adults and the elders who have gotten by, but they seldom show the children. School shootings. Just saying it and thinking of Uvalde brings me to tears every time I think about it. But we focused on the children that were killed, but what about the children that survived? What courage had to come forth from them to run past the gunman, to hear the shots, and then to go back to school again? Not just Uvalde, but the schools around the country. When you hear the news, there are like shootings in 10 cities, 10 schools. My nephew in Philadelphia is the assistant principal of a high school. And he called me 2 weeks ago to say, "Auntie, there was a shooting at my school. 5 children were shot and 1 died." Wasn't far away. And as the assistant principal, he had to deal with what occurred with the parents, with the children, with the press, with the public, with the community. And he told me he had to push back those who were trying to gain notoriety or gain a newspaper look or image because they showed up. And he said, "Where were you before?" to those who were politicians. But his role as assistant principal is dealing with the children, not only the day of the shooting, but the weeks that have come afterwards. Do you think about the children? And then there's everyday living of parental abuse, poverty, and homelessness. So, courage. I bring this up because our children are actually operating from a place of courage that we're not giving them credit for. If you've lived in an abusive home, you have to get up every day to go to school and put on a face of courage. To be in school. Some of you are teachers. And the children come like nothing has happened. Sometimes they break down, but they had to come to school with a badge of courage on. So my message today is how you can support our children. Purposeful living, living in courage. You all have gone through a lifetime of experience. I invite you to find a way to share your experience with the youth of our city and our world. Any one thing will be helpful. So I'm going to mention, I talked about the 6 things that you all have lived through and said, yes, I feel courageous. I'm going to now talk about the 6 things that youth need, that children need to feel courageous. Number 1, to stand up to bullying. From the data that I've read and looked at, I do workshops with youth. 1 in 4 students has reported being bullied during school. 1 in 4. I was bullied when I was a child. I've been this height since I was 10. In the 5th grade, 4th grade and 5th grade, most people are this tall. Thank goodness there were 3 or 4 of the girls. We were all the same height. One was a little taller than me. So I was able to get a group. And it's not that they stopped the bullying, but I had somebody to lean into. But bullying creates a place of questioning about yourself. It's what happens. And it creates a place of isolation and retaliation. And with the youth of today, where there's all sorts of things that they can see online, they are harassed and impacted in ways that most of us never were. So if there's anything you can do to encourage a young person to stand up beyond bullying, to build confidence, character, and a sense of purpose, sometimes just one word from somebody that cares can help your moment as well as your life. I still remember having 1 or 2 teachers say, "You're doing good, keep doing good." Because they're few and far between, you remember the ones who made a difference. You can make a difference with a child who may or may not be being bullied or may be the bully. So let's think about that, number 1. The other thing children are dealing with is standing up for their uniqueness. I know I'm not the only one that felt awkward. There's nothing that we all have something in common. We didn't feel like we fit in when we were youth. From 10 on, it wasn't good. We were growing. We didn't know quite where we fit in. We might have been good in school, but there were things happening physically, mentally, socially that we weren't quite sure of. So if you can be that calming presence for a granddaughter, grandson, niece, nephew, to say, you're actually going to live through it. I didn't have many people in my life that actually stood on the side of how I might have been thinking. So I'm sharing this from a personal experience, but also from the many children I've worked with, and they say they feel alone. And that the adults around them usually tell them what to do. They seldom ask, what can I do? So that's number 2. Help them stand in their uniqueness. Help them know that they can be courageous, live beyond the limitations that society may put on them, and that they will get through this. They'll get through it. Quite honestly, statistically, some won't. Unfortunately, there's been more suicide in youth in the last 10 years than many years before that. So you're needed. The courage you have is needed for our youth. Number 3, help them expand their boundaries. Sometimes they move into this place of a comfort zone. They are used to a certain group of people. They're used to doing certain things. they have the comfort of their family or certain friends. But for you to grow, it doesn't matter what age, growth requires stepping out from what you're familiar with. Would you agree? You can't see the possibilities if you stay in the same place. It doesn't matter, I'm looking down at the tiles on the floor. If you stand in one place, if you sit in one place at church every Sunday, and I'm not accusing you of anything, I know we all have our favorite positions, but you actually will see life differently if you move. It's that simple. So have that conversation with young people to expand their boundaries, to try something new, try something different. It may not begin with food because we have specific choices, but encourage them to move beyond something that they're afraid of, to step into something new. Just getting over that fear will show something within them that they can do. So your homework is remember something that you were afraid of. Maybe two things. And think about, am I still afraid of the same thing? Or what happened to make me change? But all of this is an assignment for you to outreach to somebody who is younger than you. And they could be your son or daughter. It could be the grandchild. They could be a friend. But to be available. This room is full of knowledge. It's full of lived experience. It's full of hope, and it's full of the things that you've gone through that can be stories. There's nothing better than a story. You can't sit and say, have somebody sit down and say, I need to talk to you. That doesn't work so much. But you can entice them with, you know something? You know, there was a time in my life, or a time that I had a friend that I didn't know if they were going to make it through. We've all had those friends. We've had friends who captured our attention, friends who may have been heroes at the time who 10 years later weren't able to create what they wanted. There were nerds in the class, I was one of them, that you wondered what was going to happen with them. But people came out of it. And depending on where you lived, you can follow and track what people have done. But help young people see if they expand their boundary just even a little bit, it'll make a difference. The fourth area, help youth understand that they can rebound from a setback. I think it's Iyanla Vanzant that talks about a setback is a setup. I like that phrase. We all have had a moment of disappointment, or where something that we tried, that we even had courage to try, didn't work out. We've all had rejection letters from colleges, from jobs. Raise your hand if you've never had a rejection letter. I'm ignoring Jane. Despite her perfection, she continues to give back to the youth. But we've all been rejected. We've all gotten a no from a school, from a friend, from something we wanted to do to help somebody. We've heard no. And sometimes we've held it within ourselves. So young people do that now. From watching TikTok and the things that they're looking at online, they get rejected 100 times more than we did. Depending on how many followers they have, it may be 1,000 times more. I didn't know 20,000 people when I was growing up, but some of the youth that I've seen on programs have followed 15,000, 25,000, 200,000 followers. So it multiplies their level of feedback and impact. You can bounce back from setbacks. And we've all had one or two that stand out because we still think about them. Don't we all think about what would my life have been if XYZ had not happened? Or what would have happened if I had moved a certain place or married a certain person or divorced the one faster than I did? What would my life have been like? But we rebound, we come back, and we find a new level of where we can operate from. The fifth area is to be a model. Encourage them to be a model for other youth. Whatever they've done can help somebody else. If they're 15, they can help a 10-year-old. If they're 10, they can help a 7-year-old. Because they're looking back, and we look up to older sisters and brothers. We look up to friends. I remember my older brother bringing his friends in. And they were only 3 years older than me, but boy, did I think they knew everything. It didn't take much, but they were ahead of me. It's fascinating how our minds put things in perspective. My sister and I are 6 years apart. So in relationship to her, she felt like I was like, who was this person that's so much older and she got to do all these things? Hers was normally from a standpoint of, you didn't take me, I didn't get to go with you with what you were doing. With my brother, I knew I couldn't go with him. And it set up a different parameter of looking at what he did with curiosity. So I found out later in life from someone that I was in high school with. This is a very interesting perspective, but my brother was only 3 years older. He wound up, fast forward, having a car accident. He had some challenges that he dealt with most of his life that were emotional, physical, and psychological. And we supported him through. He made his transition a couple of years ago. I was talking to a friend earlier this year, and somebody that we both were infatuated with has become a friend of ours. And he told her a story that said that my brother George was a role model for him. I nearly fell off the phone. I'm like, my brother? Because he was brilliant, very creative. He got in trouble a lot. I only saw it from the standpoint of the trouble side. I want you to think about this. When you're in a family, children get labeled. So he was the troublesome one. Oh, what is he doing now? When my mother would get a phone call, it was like, oh, goodness. What did George do now? 50 years later, I got a story from someone who became a very powerful presence in the world. And he said, I couldn't have been the person I was without your brother. I didn't know that brother. I mean, I knew him, but I didn't know his impact in the world. And this young man said that he came into, my brother played the saxophone, was in the band, and this young man came into the band awkwardly with the sax, and he said my brother showed him how to hold the instrument, how to read the music, how to do both parts because they played the horn and the sax, how to even be in the marching band and put his uniform on. He said he helped give me courage. He helped to show me when people were picking on me about not knowing what I was doing. And he said he'd send me little notes, and he was a prankster. But he said he helped me fit in so that I could go on. This person became a leader in the government, built housing for many people. I didn't know the story until this year. Be a model for other youth. There's this hidden space of what we can do to act courageously. An older child can be a courage leader for somebody else. And in fact, researchers found that by observing someone responding to a situation with courage, they can influence the observer's own actions as well as the ones who are watching them. So have a story like mine that you can share with a young person to say, you can make a difference that you may not know about now, but as they grow older, somebody will know. And then the last thing, set their lives up for adulthood. Courage helps to prepare you for what you're going to do. When you're a child, you can't foresee all the things that you're going to deal with all of the challenges of life. But when you gain confidence early, you can get through those challenges. I know each of you have had somebody that was a confidence builder in your life, or you wouldn't be here today. Courage makes it possible for our youth and all of us to deal with things that are discomfort, that are not comfortable, and may be a confrontation. Allows us to draw upon our inner strength and resources, and most importantly, to focus on possibility. That all things are possible. I live from that place. That's kind of my mantra. All things are possible, including happiness. When you're in a place of being bullied and challenged, you may not know that. Gandhi said, happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. So let us teach and encourage our youth to be courageous and live in harmony. To stand up for what is right, even when they stand alone. Now, this is what you already do. So I encourage you to teach the youth to do the same thing, to not cave in to negative pressure, to move beyond fear of failure to express yourself, to never intentionally ridicule or hurt others, and help them to solve problems without violence. The world around them is not teaching them that. The world of video and social activity is telling children to go out, is telling adults, but the children see it, to go out and be disruptive. Let us teach them something different. So I just end it with this space that says, our children are so powerful and important for us. They are not our tomorrow. They are our today. So let us just take those thoughts into our heart right now. This wasn't an intellectual conversation. This was a conversation of courage, which is heart-based. Let us bring courage to our youth. And I believe we have a testimonial right now. Oh, here you are, okay. And I also encourage you to bring energy into everything you do, joy and energy.
My name is Charlie Scholes. I've been a member of a Unitarian church since 1981. This is my fourth church that I joined. I became a UU because my wife and I wanted our children to be raised with some religious education which didn't have the negativity of rather traditional religions. But what was interesting was that while we went to church and joined for our children, we stayed for ourselves. Unitarian Universalism is my kind of religion. It shows me, I have to take my glasses off for this, to seek my own path, but guides me with principles and covenants. I wouldn't be satisfied with anything less. But what has also become important for me from every UU congregation that I've been in have been the concepts of time, talent, and treasure. These are not unique to Unitarian Universalism, but they certainly are an integral part of who we are. I was particularly reminded of these concepts this past week, during which we suffered a considerable amount of vandalism and theft on our UU campus. 2 of our storage sheds were broken in and some items were stolen. A number of night lights, the ones along this side, were ripped off the wall and just outside the sanctuary, and some electrical outlets were damaged. Fortunately, we now have a security camera system which allows us to catch the criminals in action. Those images have been sent to the Las Cruces Police Department to add to the report we submitted. Now you might say, okay, what does this have to do with time, talent, and treasure? Well, I'm the chair of the Facilities Management Committee to oversee the maintenance and physical progress on our campus. We usually contract with professionals when we're asking for repairs in plumbing and heating and electrical work and so on. But when it comes to smaller repairs and parts replacement, we usually do it ourselves. So this past week, Bill Fitzgerald, David Rice, and I gave of our time and applied our talents to put new locks on the shed doors, replace the stolen light fixtures, and secure the electrical boxes on both the sanctuary and the RE building. Thank you. It's a step. By doing this, we saved our church a considerable amount of treasure. But we also did this because this is how we support the UUCLC. That's what it means to me to be a Unitarian Universalist in this church. Now, you might not be able to do the things that we do. You might have other talents and can help us at other times. But what you can do now is contribute treasure. This month, we're in our pledge campaign to raise money for the 2023 year. Our goal is $300,000. If you've received your pledge letter, you probably know our specific needs. I'll recite a few of them for you. We want to strengthen our Sunday services. We want to grow our religious education programs for both youth and adults. We want to add opportunities for the congregation to gather in community, and we want to increase hands-on social justice projects. But to do all this, we need your contributions. Your pledge and mine will go a long way to meeting the needs and goals of this church. So if you haven't filled out your pledge yet, I encourage you to do that as soon as possible and to give generously. But if you've already pledged, I would ask you to consider this. I grew up in Chicago, where in election years we urged people to vote early and often. You may have heard that, right? And I know it worked. Now, since you've already made a contribution to the UU Church of Las Cruces, you have in effect voted early. Now I'm asking you to vote often. Thank you.
Now it's time for the sharing of gifts. The operation and outreach of our church needs your input and your contributions. This is the perfect time to think about what you can give back. In a moment, greeters will pass among you with the offering baskets. But before they do that, I should remind you that we support organizations identified by the Social Justice Committee with our Change for Change program. This quarter's recipient for our Change for Change donations is the NAACP of Doña Ana County. Funds collected will be used as seed money for youth outreach and memberships in support of this year's theme, Always Fighting Forward. With a recommendation from the Social Justice Committee, the board approved the use of a church meeting place without charge to the NAACP DAC as a demonstration of our commitment to our 8th principle. You can give to them by putting your change in the basket or by writing Change for Change on the note line of your check. Please give generously. it's time for our closing hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place, number 1008 in the Singing the Journey, the teal hymnal. It's on the board.
When our heart is in a holy place, we look around, we are blessed with courage, we are blessed with peace, and we take the time to lift a hand, to give a hand to those we can help. So may you all go forth this week with your heart in a holy place, remembering that the courage that it takes to live every day is something you can help others with. May you go in peace and in love. I think that's it. I'm going to just say one other thing. There's a lot of people here. Your energy makes a difference. And share it with others. So if you share the way you shared today, sometimes you were kind of lukewarm, sometimes you were high. But can we get a rousing applause for each of you, for the choir, and for all of those who supported service today, and show them your joy and your appreciation. Yes? May you go forth in peace.
Please notice the 4 announcements on the back side of your order of service. I'd like to emphasize that first announcement. We more than doubled our goal of $1,000 and exceeded the amount raised last year. T to R gets folks living in tents at the Mesilla Valley Community of Hope into rental units. UUCLC has been a constant supporter of the Mesilla Valley Community of Hope since it was founded in 1991. And stop into the gallery after service for the pop-up show featuring Sandy Barbecue's jewelry and Chris Northcutt's beautiful pillowcases. Please join me in saying the words to extinguish the flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.